welcome to Mobile Car Mechanic. Today we're going to show you how to replace the knock sensors on this 2001 Lexus ES 300. It's going to apply from 96 to 2001 or any Lexus or Toyota with a 1MZ FE engine. Let's get to it. Our parts and tools needed are going to be, of course, the knock sensor with the wire harness, some various socket wrenches to go ahead and fit in the troubled spots. So you're going to need a 14mm, you're going to need a 12mm, and a 10mm. So any of these variations of both being deep and short. A 12mm wrench, an extension. I was using a 5/16 hex, a flathead. If your hood struts are gone bad, then just go ahead and use the vice grips to lock the hood in place. And then we have an adjustable wrench for the knock sensor itself, a hammer to kind of help you out there, and a pry bar to help you get the fuel injectors off, and pliers for certain clamps. All right, before starting any big job, what we're going to do is go ahead and undo the negative terminal on the battery, because we're going to be unplugging a lot of electrical components. Just make sure you just put it somewhere where it's not going to touch metal. Just put it right here for now. All right, so what we're going to be focusing on is getting the airbox loosened up. So I'm going to go ahead and take out the mass airflow sensor. So push on the tab and then just try to pull it out. You might have to wiggle it. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and try to take the either one of these. I'm going to loosen both of these screws up and see where it comes off of. So these are 10mm. All right, it's clearly really loose. It's just stuck on there. There we go. All right, let's see if I can get the airbox off. Well, actually, one thing you should be aware of is that the mass airflow sensor has a little clip in there that holds it in place. I'm gonna try to see if I can use my fingernail. So you just gotta squeeze these little guys in. Pop the tabs for the airbox. Looks like we have more over here. So I'm gonna take this connector out. I believe this is probably emissions related. And there is a little clamp here. Let's go ahead and pull that off. And try to twist it until it comes out. Okay, now that should allow us to go ahead and lift up the box a bit more. There is another, like, I don't know how to say that, but that comes out. Okay, looks like that broke off, so it's not a big deal. I'll just take that out and put on the remaining piece. So be careful about your hand resting on this. So gonna go ahead and pull that out, put it to the side. Now I'm gonna go ahead and I believe this is a hose right here, so that's gonna be hidden under there. We are gonna have to take that out, so I'll do that later. I'm gonna go ahead and tackle these two boots to the throttle bodies. Almost good. Okay. I'm gonna get some pliers, see if we can get that out. It's under this guy right here. And squeeze that in. So we can get that loosened up. All right, be careful. There's a lot of vacuum lines in the way. All right. Now, let's make sure that we don't disturb anything here. There is a little holder for one of the hoses here. Just make sure that before you pull this off that nothing is snagged onto it. We don't want to break anything. These might need to be loosened up still. I'll just wiggle it back and forth, just like that, up and down. All right, this wants to catch that again, so we got that out of the way. Now we're gonna go ahead and set this to the side. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and what I want to do at this point is I don't want to really unhook what I don't need to, so I'm gonna go ahead and try to take off the throttle body off the intake manifold and put it to the side, so that because there's a coolant line that goes through it and all this other stuff, and you got these wires. This is your throttle position sensor. I'll just unplug stuff here. Unplug this one as well. The little connector tabs. You just have to do to release them. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to. These I believe are 12 millimeters. I'm just gonna confirm that. That's not a 10, so let's go for 12. All right, so there's going to be 3 to 12 millimeter bolts or nuts. So there's gonna be one right here, one right there, and then you can kind of see it down here. That's the one we're gonna go ahead and aim to get for. And then there's also a bracket on towards the firewall. So there's this bracket right here, which also kind of hard to get it on camera. Let's see if we can zoom in. Okay, that's the bolt right there. So this bolt right here. You'll see the net sticking out. But basically, that guy right here. That's what we're gonna go ahead and aim for. All right, just loosening the bolts. I'm just kind of doing it this interesting way because these are kind of tight. I need some leverage. Okay, then we're going to try to go for the tricky one at the bottom. Might need to use a smaller wrench, but I'm going to go ahead and see what I can do with this. Let me see if I can use a smaller wrench. All right, so I got a small 12 millimeter wrench on here. Given that this is kind of a weird angle, I'm just going to get an extension here and just kind of see if I can hit it with a hammer to loosen it up. It's loose. Now I just gotta crank at it until I can get the nut out, which is the fun part. All right, now that we got those nuts loose, before I go ahead and get the bracket off, I'm gonna go ahead and get these little lines off because they're connected to the throttle body. Might have to use some pliers here to go ahead and loosen it up. Give it the old twist. Should come right off. Just be careful because there's a plastic split there, and this car is old. Don't want to break anything. All right, now that we got that out of the way, we're going to go to the bracket that's kind of hard to see. It's a 12 millimeter. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that done. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and loosen up this 12mm bolt on the bracket here attached to the throttle body. This will be the last piece before we can go ahead and actually remove the throttle body itself. It's probably gonna be tight as well. Let me see if I can find something to give me some leverage. All right, after we got all those nuts and bolts loose, the throttle body is going to be able to go ahead and move. I'm just going to go ahead and just let it sit like this for now, because we're going to go ahead and take this cover off. There's a vacuum line that goes from this air-powered solenoid. So I'm going to go ahead and get this off. You're going to need a 5mm hex to get these 3 out. And then the logo, if you have yours, this is actually a secret screw that you loosen up. Okay, so that's loose. It will stay, it's captive, so it won't come out. So let's go ahead and get these loosened up. All right, so now we're gonna go to the hex bolts here. Just gonna go ahead and keep going at it until it's loose. Okay, now we're just gonna go ahead and lift this up. Set that off to the side. All right, once the cover is off, you're gonna see all these vacuum lines and connectors that go to various like solenoids and things like that, and then the fuel injectors, of course. I'm gonna go ahead and start unplugging the connectors first. They're color coded, and they have certain lengths so that you can't get it in the wrong place. Let's see if I can get this guy out. There's a little clip. You just push them in. They're on the sides. I'll go ahead and get this one too. Okay. Now you got your fuel injector here. Again, just unplug this. Just squeeze the tab. Just squeeze them in like that. Should get the harness for the most part taken care of. Give us some room. I think they had rodents in here before because there's a lot of broken stuff, and apparently the wire being repaired there. So we're gonna have to clean that up after we get this fuel rail out of the way. So what I want to do is I want to get this hose here loosened up off this little actuator, because our plan is to go ahead and get this unbolted and put it on the side next to the throttle body. On the bottom of the throttle body, there's also a vacuum hose right here. Okay, now we should be able to go ahead and put the throttle body to the side somewhere. For now there's going to be two 10mm. There's gonna be one right here, and then there should be another one right there. So let's go ahead and tackle that. Hopefully there's no other snags here. Just gonna go ahead and get the rail or this bracket with solenoids off on there. Now they're going to be, I believe, a 14 right here and a 14 right here, and then I will have to double check, so let me get back to you on the size of these. All right, so in order to get the intake manifold off, we're gonna go ahead and aim to get this 14 right here is a nut, and a 14 there. I'm using a 5/16 hex on these, and then these right here are going to be 12s. There's another one back here and another one back here. I think we might need to take off the fuel rail. I'll confirm that once we get this loosened up. He's gonna be tight. Very tight. Okay, now we're gonna go for the hex. Your socket's probably gonna get stuck in it. So just, oh, never mind. Okay, so it looks like this is the intake manifold. The dirt made it look so like as if it was one piece. I know that we will have to take off the fuel rail after we get this off, but before we go ahead and continue, there is going to be a bracket back here that is holding this down. So it's going to be really hard to see. I don't think we'll be able to get it on camera, but under this line is a 14mm nut. Probably not going to get it, so I'll show you off once we get the manifold off. Alright, so one thing I forgot to tell you is that there is a ground strap. There's two grounds, so we got to take that 12mm out. Once that's off, you're going to have two wires that come off, and one has a locking so it doesn't actually twist when you're tightening it or loosening it. So we're going to go ahead and put that down for now, and then we're going to go ahead and tackle that hidden 14 back there. You'll have to go by feel. Alright, so this is the 14mm that goes back there. What you'll notice is that the intake manifold now will lean back. I'm just going to go ahead and lift this slowly just in case there's anything connected to it under. And I believe this right here, this PCV hose, I believe is attached to it. So we're going to go ahead and try to use some pliers on that. Alright, so we do have to get this PCV hose out in order to actually lift the intake manifold all the way up. Once we do that, this should come all the way off if there isn't anything else hooked up to it, which there appears to be a connector of some sort back here. Actually, it's another ground strap. You're not going to be able to really see it here, but there's a 10mm up there holding this ground strap. That was a really good design there, Toyota. Let's go ahead and get that out. Let's see. Oh man, that's tight. Okay, get the 10 mil out. Now we should be able to lift this thing all the way out. So, this is the back of the intake manifold. This is where the 14 millimeter goes. This is where the 10 millimeter for the ground strap goes. So, it's this bracket right here that the bolt goes right under. So, this is what's holding the manifold in place. So now that we got that out of the way, looks like we need to go ahead and get the upper or the secondary portion of the intake system out. So we're gonna go ahead and unplug these fuel injectors like we did the top ones. Okay, set that off to the side. And we have all these 12 mils here. I think we have, is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and a 10th right there, right by this hard line. So I don't think we'll need to go ahead and undo the fuel lines. I think we can just go ahead and swing out the fuel rail. But we're gonna go ahead and do that. We're gonna go ahead and clean up the engine here because we have more some acorns. Somebody's been having a party in here. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and take off the fuel rail. It's going to be held in with 10 millimeters. 2 on each side, it looks like. So these 2 and then these 2. So let's go ahead and just get those out. Okay, one thing you should probably be aware of is there's little spacers here in the middle. These might fall out, so just be careful with that. Now what we're going to do is just going to pull up. As long as there's nothing else holding it in place, which I don't think there is. Alright, so I'm struggling with this a little bit here, and I think that this bracket holding the fuel lines itself has some sort of it's probably called that. Put to the side there. Let's see if we can get a little bit of action there. Whew. Alright, so these are on there pretty darn good. So what I had to do was use a pry bar, just obviously make sure you don't put it on plastic or anything. And I was able to go ahead and get these out. As you can see, some of the injectors are still in there. That's fine. Just we're gonna go ahead and lay this to the side, get that out of the way if we can. It's probably just gonna be a pain in the butt. So try to get it there. Okay. So now we gotta, these are the spacers I was talking about. Luckily they have little collars in them so that they don't fall. Now we're gonna go ahead and tackle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, and then there's I believe a random 10 millimeter here that also may have an effect on this. So we're gonna go ahead and tackle the 12s first. Alright, one thing you should be aware is that these do vary in size, so you may want to keep track of them. So I'm just going to keep them in their respective holes. I believe the outer ones here are going to be the shortest, so we're just going to go ahead and just leave them in place. And then we'll just leave it on the manifold. Okay, I'll go ahead and put this one out to the side here. There is a 10 millimeter nut over here. I believe that's probably going to be the only thing holding this lower intake in place. It's a 12. Hey, fake me out. Okay, I don't think there's any more bolts hiding, so let's see if this thing comes out. Okay, looks like we have another one over here that's hidden, so you may or may not see it. Right there. So we're gonna go ahead and tackle that one. Okay. Now let's see if we can get some movement. All right, so there's coolant going through this. So just remember, you might have, I didn't think it was gonna drip coolant, but that's fine, it's no big deal. So where this whole nesting thing here is in place is where we're going to be. So there's going to be a knock sensor here, and then there should be another one okay, the other one is right under this coolant pipe. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to vacuum all this stuff out first, and then we'll go ahead and get back to it. All right, so the knock sensors are gonna be under this coolant pipe, but I chose to loosen it in a way where I didn't wanna do that. You're gonna have an electrical connector here. You have to squeeze this tab. So I already kind of cheated on one of them. There is a tab right here that you're going to squeeze. We're replacing this harness, so it doesn't really matter that we broke it, but we're just going to go ahead, you pinch that and you pull it out. After that, I'm not entirely sure what size the knock sensor is itself, but I used an adjustable wrench and went just like that and was able to, I had to kind of use a hammer to kind of give it some movement, but we're going to go ahead and show you on this one how it comes out, potentially. Let me get the harness out of the way, because that's what's making it difficult to show you how to get this thing out. It literally unscrews like a big screw here. push a little bit on the hose, and then I'm just gonna snake it out. So this is the sensor for this bank, and then I'm gonna go ahead and try to get the connector off on this one right here, and that'll be kind of difficult. I might just use a screwdriver to push on my tab and then pull from the back. Alright, we broke that off because we're going to replace it anyways. Who cares? The harness. They recommend replacing the harness. And given the fact that there was a lot of acorns and stuff like that, rodents might have possibly bit into it. I'll go ahead and unscrew this one too, because I also loosened that off camera. Alright, just find a gap that you can get this through. And that's the other bank knock sensor. So let's go ahead and get this installed. We're gonna get the new ones installed. Okay, so the harness to the knock sensors are going to be right here. In this case, I couldn't get it off. Eventually it broke. But what we need to do is we need to go ahead and squeeze this tab and then just pull this out. And then we're going to go ahead and go back to the other side here. And we're going to snake our new harness that we got here into that. So let's go ahead and lift up the manifold. Okay, got the connectors out here. I just pull from this side since the connectors are smaller. So this is the old harness. This is the new shiny one. So I can sneak that through here. There's just so many hoses here that make this thing just difficult to do anything. Okay, now that we got it snaked in, I'm just gonna go ahead and go back to the other side here, or actually I can sneak it through here. And we're just gonna go ahead and connect it. Okay, you'll hear a faint click. There's actually a little bracket here that you can use. It's not going to go all the way in, but that's fine. Now I'm going to go ahead and get our knock sensors in. So go ahead and snake it through here. I'm going to go ahead and tighten up my hand. Okay. And I'm going to get our adjustable wrench. Just gonna match it up to this guy, just make sure that it fits. Okay. I'm gonna go up here. Just gonna give it a nice little tug on there. Okay, that didn't tighten it, so the angle's a bit weird here. Okay, it's on tight. I'm gonna go ahead and match this up to the other one, the other piece. And we're gonna go ahead and put it on this side. It'd definitely be easier if you took the coolant pipe out. I chose to do it this way. You don't have to. We'll go ahead and tighten this guy up. Okay, now the longer one's going to go on the left, the shorter one's going to go on the right. Just match the orientation of the connector. Alright, once you have it on there, just go ahead and push it until you hear it click. Now we're going to go ahead and do the same for the other side. All right, now that we got that in place, we'll go ahead and put the lower intake in place. Be careful not to crush any wires. It's pretty easy to do. You just have to get it on the studs. So right now you're just fighting a little bit of the hoses and stuff. Once you have it down in place, we're gonna go ahead and attack all these 12mm bolts. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and tackle the studs here. So we got one stud here. And another sneaky one under here. You're not gonna really see it. Okay, just gonna double check and make sure we got everything before we go ahead and start reassembling the fuel rail and everything. What might also help is you have rings, O-rings that are made of rubber. Might be a good idea to kind of put a little bit of WD-40 or something like that to help lubricate it so it goes in easier. So it looks like we got everything down. I'm gonna go ahead and insert the collars and all right. So we'll go ahead. We'll be back. We're gonna go ahead and lubricate these so it makes it easier for it to go back in. All right. So we lubricated the O-rings and stuff here. I'm just gonna go ahead and try to line them up to each of their respective cylinders. And then we're gonna go ahead and just push it in place. So you can see, it's a lot better than when we tried to take it out. Okay, we have this bolt here that holds down the fuel rail itself, or the line. Once we line it up, we'll go ahead and get that screwed in. That's a 12. Okay, now that we got that in place, we're going to go ahead and put our fuel rail hold down bolts. Okay, those are 10 millimeters. After you've gotten everything tightened down, let's go ahead and clip in our ejectors. Just hear a nice click just like that. Okay, so that's clipped in. Now we're gonna go ahead, just make sure that we have everything that we just doing a once over here. So we got our ground straps here, ground strap there. I believe now we can go ahead and put the top of the intake manifold in place. So let's go do that now. All right, so if you remember from before, there's a random ground strap back here, so we gotta go ahead and screw it on the back of this thing. So we'll see if we can show you. But it's gonna be a really tight fit. I'm just gonna go ahead and tighten it up with a wrench, and then we'll go ahead and put the manifold actually on. Okay. Now that we have that in place, we're going to go ahead and match up these holes to the stud. There's 2 studs, remember, on each end here. So we're going to go ahead and get that in place if we can. There we go. And then we did have that 14 millimeter bolt that went in the back. I'm going to go ahead and put that in there first. Now it's going to be kind of hard to show you guys. I'm going to do my best. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and loosely apply these nuts here so that they hold the intake manifold up a little bit, so that we can put that 14 in the back. Because you're going to go, that 14 millimeter is kind of difficult to work with because it's blind. You're going in blind. So we have a little bit of wiggle room. I'm now going to attempt to mess with it. Alright, so you're probably going to want to shoot yourself after trying to deal with that stupid bolt in the back. So we're not putting it back. It's just a bracket that holds this thing in place. It's not really going to cause any issues. We're just going to go ahead and insert all the screws and the bolts, or the nuts and bolts. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, we're gonna go back to this side because we have a couple things that we gotta button up. So we have this PCV hose, so we're just gonna go ahead and push it in place. If it goes on, might have to spray it with something. I should have done that before. I'm gonna go ahead and use some pliers. Just gonna rock it back and forth until it goes all the way down. And then you can squeeze these clamps with your thumbs. Just put it back in the same indentation that it was. And then we're gonna go ahead and get this ground strap in place. And you want the flat piece out here to be on the edge to match the angle of the intake. If I forgot, that is a 12. Let's go ahead and do that. All right. Now we got everything bundled up here. We're now going to go ahead and get this rail here that we had earlier with the vacuum lines. And then we're going to put them on the studs. Okay. So, got that there. This is going to be the one that goes to the bottom of the throttle body. And then this one right here goes to this actuator. Just going to go ahead and slide that in there. It's pressure fit. Got two 10 millimeters. Just go ahead and screw those in. Be careful, it can be a little bit easy to drop these in. They're very small. Okay. Okay, now we do have these electrical connectors that we had earlier. You can't mix them up because they only are a certain length and they're the same color as the connector. Got those all bundled up. And then this one right here. Okay, those are all in place. Now we should be able to go ahead and then just double checking, make sure that we have everything plugged up. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and put the throttle body on. Okay, so remember we have this little actuator here too. Just go ahead and slide that in there. And we're gonna go ahead and match this up. To the threads, or the studs here. And these are held in by the 12 millimeter nuts. All right, and then the problematic one that's going to be difficult for you to get to is down here. We're just going to go ahead and try to get our hands on there somehow. Just trying to get it lined up with a stud. That's probably the most difficult at the moment, given the angle that I'm at. Okay, so we got them all threaded in by hand. Let's just get these all bolted down. I'm gonna go ahead and put these vacuum lines on. You can't mix them up. See if I can get the bottom one here too by using, actually no, I'm not gonna be able to do that. Use a regular crescent wrench here. Alright, so we disconnected some connectors earlier. I go to the throttle body and the position sensor for the throttle. Okay, let's make sure that we have everything connected. Okay, it appears that everything's connected. Now we're going to go ahead and put the air box and hoses in place. So we have this guy here. So we're going to go ahead and insert this end here first on that. And then I'm going to go ahead and get these slid on. Okay, we're going to go ahead and tighten those down. Okay, let's go ahead and put the top of the airbox here. Remember, we had some hoses and a connector and another connector to the mass arrow, so let's go ahead and get those plugged up. Okay, got your tabs here, just match them up down here. Let's go ahead and get this in place first. I think it'll be easier. And then once you get your go ahead and tighten this one up here. Alright, looks like this thing is not doing so good. So we're going to try this again. Try to fix this and get this back where it's supposed to be. Okay. There we go. Let's try this again. Alright, now that that's in place, we have this hose. That's going to go here. Get the little tab there, and the clamp, clip this in there, put this guy in there. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and put the cover on. Now we'll go ahead and clip this too. Alright, also we have one last hose. Little nipple there. Now we're going to go ahead and put the cover on. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and match up these screws here. Then we're going to get our 5mm Allen key or hex. Let's go ahead and tighten these up. take the logo, find the thread, and then just keep turning it until it tightens up. You don't need to like go crazy on tightening these things. And that's it. Pretty much just gonna hook up the battery and that'll complete the job. Alright, two things we didn't show on camera were the after we put the hose on there, you just have to put the clamp on. And then back here on the throttle body is the 12mm bolt that goes onto the bracket for the throttle body. So that should be it. And thank you for watching. Thank you for watching Mobile Car Mechanic. Today we showed you how to replace the knock sensors on this 2001 Lexus ES 300. Again, it's going to apply from 1996 all the way to 2001, or any Lexus or Toyota with a 1MZ FE engine. Thanks for watching, and see you on the next one.